Good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, put it on all so you can get notified straight away as soon as we drop any new content on this channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. So recently, as of yesterday, I managed to catch the Anthony Joshua interview, the exclusive interview with Kugan Cassius of Ifltv. And this was a funny one because very candid by Anthony Joshua. There was lots of honesty in it. The kind of thumbnail on the little short that Kugan Cassius made was hilarious because it looked like Anthony Joshua had sort of kidnapped him, and Kugan looked so terrified in that little short that they made. So yeah, Joshua said, look, this is, he was advertising this and saying in the short, yeah, this is going to be sort of uncut. I'm going to speak for myself now, and, he's going to lay it all out, discussing all different topics. So this was a long interview. It lasted for about an hour. It lasted actually over an hour. I think it was like an hour and 3 minutes to be precise. And there was a lot discussed. Joshua discussed his losses against Andy Ruiz. He was discussing his mentality. He discussed when it came to Ruiz, he made a few statements that a lot of what he said was a bit cryptic, so he's kind of under sort of hidden messages there where he was saying, oh yeah, there was everyone could see that there was something wrong when I lost to Ruiz. People could see that there was something wrong. There was definitely something not right when I was walking to the ring. But then I didn't make excuses for the loss. I stayed in America. I made, I dealt with the loss. I lived with it. And then he goes on to speak about his mentality. Some point in the interview he was talking about being a warrior and saying that now with Usyk, now he's coming to war. He's coming to fight. They were speaking a bit about a lot of things about tactics, and Kugan was, boldly said to him, look, from a fan's perspective, we all thought that the tactics would have been quite obvious, that you go in there and it's roughhouse tactics. It's, you go and have I wouldn't say use the word brawl, but he used the terms that, you impose your size, impose your strength, you fight like the bigger man against Usyk. So, what was your tactics? Were you going in there to outbox the boxer? And Anthony Joshua replied and said, well, he said he didn't actually give a proper answer. His answer was just, well, you would have to ask my team. If you want to ask those questions, you have to go and ask the team. And it's a bit for me, I sort of found that a bit of a weird answer, but at the same time, Anthony Joshua does kind of speak like that, so it didn't really surprise me. Sometimes he is a bit cryptic and a bit, he kind of doesn't really say much. It's weird. He talks in this weird way. So he was saying, yeah, you got to talk to the team. He alluded to himself as a kind of sponge. It seemed like he sort of understood that he got the tactics wrong, but he was sort of halfway taking the blame himself, but then referring also to his team. And he was saying that, look, I'm just a product of my environment. If you tell me to outbox him, I can outbox him. If you tell me to box on the back foot, I'm gonna box on the back foot. So I'm only a product of my environment. If the team tells me to do this, I'm gonna do this. So he was almost talking like he's almost like a machine, or like a robot that his team, he only does what his team says. He also alluded to adapting mid-fight, but then sort of said that he thought he was in the fight, and he thought it was the last 3 rounds that really is where he lost the fight, which is a bit, I don't know, you could argue that's a bit of a worrying sign, because I think as a fighter, for me, you do want to sort of know when you're losing a fight. You don't want to just be delusional in the ring. You want to know, so you or your corner should at least be telling you that you're losing a fight. You're blowing it, son. Like what Angelo Dundee said to Sugar Ray Leonard. You want that in the corner, but I think I don't know if it was McCracken for sure, but someone in that corner was saying, "Yeah, brilliant AJ," and he was losing the fight. And in this interview, he seemed to be a little bit either kind of delusional in a way, because he was saying, "Yeah, I didn't think I was behind. I was touching a guy. I was hitting the guy, and I just thought maybe those last 3 rounds lost me the fight." But I'm like, for any observer watching it, and if he's watched it back or his team was there live, the guy, he was losing it by quite a wide margin. To me, it wasn't a close fight at all. So that was a little bit disturbing, the fact that he was kind of playing off the fact that he was clearly losing that fight. I mean, I know fighters do that, and they don't like to admit when they lost. So maybe it's just a case of that pride that I'm not going to admit defeat. I'm not going to admit that I was way behind in the fight. I was winning in my head. Maybe that's what it is. But he also went on to Coogan, asked him about, okay, so you've been in America. A lot of people are going to be asking you, look, are you going to a new trainer? Are you shopping for trainers and all this sort of stuff? And again, it was quite cryptic answers, because he basically didn't say that he was definitely over in America to shop for new trainers. He said something similar to the last video I made about him, which is, he said that basically he's going there to pick up knowledge. So he's going to different camps. He said he watched Canelo spar for 12 rounds over in Eddie Reynoso's gym. He said he went to Ronnie Shields. Coogan tried to press him and say, look, which one of these, was there one that stuck out to you and made you think that, wow, I could see myself here or whatnot? And, Joshua wouldn't really give an answer. He just said that they're all pretty much equal. They've all got experience, and they all sort of know a lot about boxing. He talked about Ronnie Shields. He's been around great fighters, great coaches, and he talked about Virgil Hunter. And the only distinction he was willing to make was that he's an Afro-Caribbean man. Guys like Shields and Virgil Hunter, who he visited because of Joshua Buatsi, those guys have a cultural connection to him. And he also mentioned the language barrier. If he was to ever work with Eddie Reynoso, there's a language barrier with some of those guys. He also mentioned he'd visited Robert Garcia as well, and he mentioned the goodness of sort of tradition. He mentioned the tradition of the Mexicans with Garcia, his father, and his father learning from Nacho Beristain, who trained Juan Manuel Marquez. And yeah, he was talking a lot about tradition. He wouldn't really commit himself on the trainer thing. He spoke also earlier in the interview about his team, and he said that he's had to have hard conversations with his team. He even alluded to possibly getting rid of some people from his team, but he said he's had to have some serious hard conversations with his own people, his own setup. He also mentioned that he's got he's got Rob McCracken as the head of his team. He's got another guy, Angel Hernandez, and he's got another guy as well. I forget his name, but he said he's got 3 different guys there. And he said that McCracken, that guy Angel, and the other coach that he's got, he said their relationship needs some work. So according to what he was saying in his sort of cryptic way, it seems as if he's kind of halfway admitting that in his team, the coaching setup, all those guys, those 3 guys, they've all got their different ideas, yeah? Obviously, McCracken is the one who's been there from day one. He's got his ideas. The other guy, Angel, and then the other trainer as well. And he said that their relationship needs some work. Their relationship needs to be, I suppose they need to sort themselves out and maybe gel a little bit more. So he from what he was saying in his own way, it seems that there might even be a bit of friction in his training setup, and it highlights one of the things that Shane McGuigan was saying about Joshua. He was saying that he feels Anthony Joshua needs just one voice in his camp. He needs just that one voice, that singularity, to just sort everything out, to just give him that one person to listen to. But Joshua, as I alluded to before, his point was that he was going to these places, going to America, because they've got great trainers, and those trainers have a wealth of knowledge. So what he was alluding to there was that he's kind of going to these different guys, going to each gym and trying to pick up things and take those things and bring them into his setup. He did, in kind of a cryptic sort of undertone or sort of undercover way, he did allude to the possibility that he might actually take on a new coach. He said that, in his words, it was something to the effect of, some of them, they've said to me, I'll train you, champ, but it cost you $1 million. But then he said in a more serious way that, look, Rob might have to accept changes I make. And then he also said something to the effect of, maybe it could be a situation where I go to work with an American trainer for 6 months, and then, and then we might give it a break, and then I'll come back to England. But he said some coaches might not accept that. They might say, nah, champ, I want to take you on full time. And then at that point, I'll need to have a conversation with the rest of my team and blah, blah, blah. So he seems to be, at present at least, he seems to be wanting to keep the setup he has. But from the sort of undertones and the sort of the underlying message of that whole thing seems to be that he is quite loyal to McCracken. But I think there is, if you read between the lines of what he's saying, he seems to be at least open to the possibility of bringing on board something else, because he understands that he got things wrong in the Usyk fight. He understands that he definitely went wrong. He definitely got things tactically wrong. Doesn't want to admit too much about it, but from what he's saying, it comes across like that. So with AJ there, he's still, the good things to take out of the interview is that he seems to be willing to work with other people. He said he wishes he went over to America earlier and learned some new things or whatever. And that's a good thing to take out of it. He also seems to be putting on a bit more of he seems to be kind of shedding a PC image. I'm not a fan of the sort of explicit language, but there was a lot, bit of F-bombs and stuff in there, which is, it is what it is. But you get the feeling that he's trying to bring back the kind of roadman image. He's trying to bring back the kind of Femi image, you know what I mean? So he's showing a bit of aggression in this interview, and he was very dismissive when Coogan said, what do you think about the people who said you should have a warm-up fight? He goes, they're not cut from the same cloth as me. What kind of fighter would take a warm-up fight? I can't take warm-up. I don't like warm-up fights at all. So he seemed very strong in his beliefs, and he seems to be quite determined to go back in there and beat Usyk and, finally right the wrong. He was talking about, using different tactics, hitting man in the hip and throwing the man on the floor. And it was interesting what he said in this interview. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think he will actually change trainers? What did you think of this interview as a whole? This is just my perspective, my thoughts. And until next time, this is MKO Pugilism, over and out.